Nobody is coming to save you. Nobody is thinking about you as much as you think. And the moment you truly accept that, everything changes. Most people spend their entire lives trapped by fear. Fear of judgment. Fear of rejection. Fear of embarrassment. Fear of failing in front of people who are too busy fighting their own battles to even notice. But the Stoics understood something liberating. The world keeps moving. And once you stop living for the approval of others, your mind becomes free. Before we begin, subscribe to Calm Over Chaos for more powerful Stoic wisdom that helps you master your emotions, build mental strength, and stay calm in a chaotic world. When you accept no one cares, everything changes. Stoicism. This idea may sound harsh at first, but it is actually one of the most freeing truths you can ever accept. Because most stress comes from constantly worrying about what other people think. The Stoics believed peace begins when you stop making your life a performance for strangers. Today, we'll explore how accepting this truth can completely transform your confidence, discipline, peace, and emotional freedom. And by the end of this video, you may never fear people's opinions the same way again. 1. Stop living for applause. Most people are not living honestly. They are performing. They dress for approval, speak for validation, post online for attention, and make decisions based on how others might react. But applause is temporary. There was once a young musician named Daniel who dreamed of becoming famous. Every song he created was designed to impress people. When praise came, he felt valuable. When criticism came, he felt worthless. One evening, an old street musician watched Daniel become frustrated after reading negative comments online. The old man smiled and said, "If strangers control your confidence, then strangers control your life." That sentence hit Daniel deeply. From that day forward, he stopped creating for applause. He created because he loved music itself. And strangely, the less approval he needed, the happier he became. The Stoics teach, your worth cannot depend on public opinion. Because public opinion changes constantly. Peace begins when your identity no longer depends on applause. 2. Most people are too busy thinking about themselves. People spend years terrified of judgment. But the truth is, most people are too focused on their own problems to analyze your life deeply. There was a university student named Clara terrified of speaking publicly. Before every presentation, she imagined everyone criticizing her mistakes. One day, after stumbling through a presentation nervously, she apologized repeatedly to a classmate afterward. The classmate looked confused. "What mistake?" Clara realized something shocking. Nobody noticed nearly as much as she imagined. The Stoics teach, the mind exaggerates embarrassment. Most people are occupied by their own fears, insecurities, and distractions. Once you realize this, social anxiety loses power. Because you stop treating yourself like the center of everyone's attention. 3. Rejection stops controlling you. Fear of rejection controls millions of lives. People avoid opportunities because they fear hearing no. There was once a young entrepreneur named Marcus afraid to start his business. Not because he lacked talent, but because he feared people mocking him if he failed. One evening, his grandfather asked him, "Will these people pay your bills if you stay small forever?" Marcus laughed quietly. No. Then why give their opinions power over your future? That sentence changed him completely. The Stoics teach, rejection is not death. It is direction. Wise people stop allowing temporary opinions to control permanent dreams. And once rejection stops terrifying you, confidence grows naturally. 4. Freedom begins when you stop explaining yourself. Many people exhaust themselves constantly explaining their choices to others. Why they changed careers. Why they ended relationships. Why they started new habits. But not everyone deserves access to your reasoning. There was a woman named Sarah who constantly defended every life decision to her family. No matter what she did, someone criticized her. Eventually, her mentor told her, "People committed to misunderstanding you will never be satisfied with explanations." That truth freed her emotionally. The Stoics teach, you do not need universal approval to live truthfully. Wise people let results speak louder than endless explanations. Because over-explaining often comes from fear of judgment. And freedom begins when you no longer need permission to live authentically. 5. You stop taking criticism personally. The moment you realize no one truly knows your full journey, criticism becomes lighter. There was once a boxer named Adrian constantly insulted online after losing a fight. People mocked him endlessly. For weeks, he became emotionally destroyed. Then his coach asked him, "How many of these critics trained with you at 5 a.m.? Adrian paused. "How many sacrificed what you sacrificed?" Again silence. The coach smiled. "Then why are you giving strangers authority over your self-worth?" That moment changed Adrian completely. The Stoics teach, people judge what they barely understand. Wise people listen to useful criticism, but ignore noise from people who know nothing about their battles. 6. Your confidence stops depending on attention. Some people only feel valuable when noticed. Likes, compliments, validation, attention. But external validation creates emotional addiction. There was a young woman named Mia who constantly posted online seeking approval. Every notification affected her mood. If engagement dropped, her confidence dropped too. One evening, her older sister told her, "You are giving strangers remote control over your emotions." That sentence hit hard. The Stoics teach, real confidence is quiet. It exists even when nobody is watching. Because the strongest people do not need constant recognition to believe in themselves. 7. Failure becomes less scary. Most people fear failure because they imagine humiliation. What will people say? How will I look? What if I embarrass myself? But once you accept that, people move on quickly. Failure loses much of its emotional power. There was once a young athlete named Leo who lost an important competition publicly. He felt humiliated. For days he avoided everyone. Then something surprising happened. Life continued normally. People returned to their own lives. Nobody obsessed over his failure the way he did. The Stoics teach, the mind often magnifies failure far beyond reality. And when you stop fearing embarrassment, you become willing to take bigger risks. That is where growth begins. 8. You become emotionally independent. Emotional dependence creates suffering. Some people need constant reassurance from others just to feel okay. But Stoicism teaches emotional self-reliance. There was a businessman named Victor who relied heavily on praise from coworkers. Without compliments, he felt insecure. One day, his mentor asked, "Why are you borrowing confidence from other people?" Victor sat silently. That question changed him deeply. The Stoics teach, confidence built internally cannot be easily destroyed externally. Because emotionally independent people remain stable even without approval. 9. You stop chasing people who don't value you. One painful truth changes many lives. People who truly value you do not constantly make you beg for attention. There was once a man named Ethan constantly chasing friendships where he felt ignored. He always initiated conversations, always made effort, always tried to prove his worth. Eventually, his grandfather told him, "Stop watering dead plants." That sentence stayed with him forever. The Stoics teach, your energy is precious. Wise people stop chasing validation from people who clearly do not appreciate them. Because peace increases when you stop forcing connections. 10. You finally focus on what truly matters. When you stop obsessing over opinions, your energy returns. Your mind clears. And suddenly, life becomes simpler. You focus on growth, discipline, purpose, health, peace. There was once an elderly man asked the secret to his calmness. He smiled and said, "I stopped trying to impress people who forget about me the next day." That is powerful wisdom. The Stoics teach, most external approval is temporary, but inner peace lasts far longer. Why this truth is so liberating. At first, the idea that no one cares sounds depressing. But Stoicism views it differently. It is freedom. Because if people are not constantly analyzing your every move, then you are free to live boldly, free to fail, free to grow, free to improve, free to change, without constantly fearing judgment. The story of the lion. There's an old story about a lion walking calmly through a forest while smaller animals screamed insults from a distance. The lion never reacted. One animal finally asked, "Why don't you respond?" The lion replied, "A lion does not lose sleep over the opinion of sheep." That is Stoicism. Mentally strong people stop reacting to every opinion, criticism, and judgment around them. Because they understand something important. Not every voice deserves emotional access to your mind. How to apply this daily? The Stoics believe truth must be practiced daily. So here are simple ways to apply this mindset. Stop over-explaining yourself. Post less for validation. Take risks without fearing embarrassment. Accept criticism calmly. Focus on your own growth. Reduce comparison. Protect your peace. Most importantly, stop making strangers the center of your emotional world. Because the moment you stop needing approval, your life changes dramatically. Final thoughts. The truth is, most people are too busy surviving their own lives to obsess over yours. And once you truly accept that, fear begins disappearing. You stop performing. Stop chasing validation. Stop shrinking yourself to fit expectations. And for the first time, you begin living freely. The Stoics remind us, A peaceful mind does not beg for approval. It stands calmly in its own truth. Remember this. You do not need everyone to understand you. You do not need constant praise. And you certainly do not need permission to become the person you are meant to be. Because when you finally accept that no one cares as much as you think, everything changes. If this message helped you, subscribe to Calm Over Chaos for more powerful Stoic wisdom that strengthens your discipline, sharpens your mindset, and helps you stay calm in a chaotic world.